Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our next session. In our next session, we're going to talk about the role of big data analytics in enhancing organizational performance. And it's my great pleasure to introduce the speaker for this session, which is Laila Faridoon. I've met Laila a couple of times while we were speaking at the same conference. And Laila is a thought leader, public speaker, and author. She's the founder and CEO of Looking Forward Consultancy, which specializes in business and digital consulting services with a strong focus and mix on technology and business skills. She has 20 years of deep experience in innovation, projects, and corporate management, and she's passionate about challenging the status quo, leveraging science and technology for the good of humanity. She's been selected among the top 30 women leaders to look out in 2023 by the New York City Journal, and has been chosen as an ambassador of a Goodwill in 2019 by the League of Arab Organizations. Laila holds a master's degree in computer science and is currently pursuing a PhD in the field of big data analytics in King's College in London. Additionally, she's an active researcher in the field of digital transformation and has authored many papers and chapters in different books. I know from experience that Laila is an absolutely great speaker, so I'm 100% sure you're going to enjoy this session. Welcome back, Laila. It's great to have you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Jan. It's really my pleasure to be here. And I'm really passionate about leveraging science and technology for the good of humanity. So thank you, everyone, for being here to listen today to the topic of the big data analytics, or the role of big data analytics in enhancing organizational performance. For me, when we leverage technology and science for the good of humanity, be it individual or be it corporate, it gives me a pleasure that I'm really pursuing my purpose. So today, we're talking about big data. We all have witnessed a great interest from industry, from academia about this topic, big data and big data analytics. Actually, today's event shows you that it's a very important topic, that everyone is dedicating time, resources to talk about this. All the reports that have been published, again, whether in the industry or in the academia, they are all looking on, at least in the academia, they are really interested in knowing the claim and examining the claim. Does really big data analytics enhance performance as being claimed in the industry? And a lot of reports by the giant has been published by McKinsey, by IBM, by Gartner, by Microsoft, all of them claiming the same. How does it work if that's really true? So how does it work, and why there are still a lot of organizations struggling with getting the benefits out of big data analytics? So I'm here today to talk about this. I'm here today to give you some insights regarding this topic if you're really interested in getting the benefit or the business value out of big data analytics. Let me ask you this question. I would want you to give me your answers in the chat. So when I mention the term big data analytics, what comes to your mind? Can you share with me, wherever it comes to your mind, when we mention the term big data analytics, what comes to your mind? I'll give you a moment to share your answers. Okay, size of the data, to analyze a big pool of data, interpreting data. What else? Share with me. Data storytelling, getting insight from big data, analyzing past data. What else? What rings in your bell when you hear the word or when you read it, this term, big data analytics, or even big data? Analyzing the different structured and unstructured data. Yeah. What else? Few more answers. Decision making. Good. So, what is big data analytics? Have you ever asked yourself, what is big data analytics? Most of you now answered and focused on the insights that will be generated from big data. One only said decision making. The rest all talking about big data and analytics and insight. The definition of big data. So scientifically, big data analytics is defined as a collection of data, infrastructure, skills, and policies that are all capable of extracting value. How does that work? By filtering, correlating, and generating information insights that everyone just talked about. And that's the main purpose of this, is to help organizations or leaders or business or policymakers make informed business decisions. Okay? Now, to do that, you need to understand what is big data analytics. So big data analytics is an IT capability. It's not an IT resource. That's very important. Big data is a resource, while big data analytics is a capability that gets built on top of the big data. And big data analytics has three main components. The first one is the tangible, and that's what all of you talked about. Now, when I ask you what is big data analytics, everyone focused on the insight, on the data itself. So this is only one part of big data analytics. This is the tangible part, which simply data, infrastructure, financial resources. There's another part, which is a human skills. And here we're talking about both technical and managerial skill. And then there is this intangible part that is also part of big data analytics that I would say, most of you and most of the organization would neglect. And this is simply the governance, the culture, the organizational learning. These are simply skills that are, let's say, components that form what we call big data analytics. And you need to understand, very important, that without having the three pillars or the three dimensions, you will not be able to get the benefits out of big data analytics. This might explain to you why, although many organizations, mostly, I would say in the government sector, they already implemented big data, right? They installed big data analytics software infrastructure, yet they're not getting the benefits because the other two dimensions are not there. Moving forward with this, now, the main question that I'm here today to answer, and I'm sure you are all here also to know, how does big data analytics impact organizational performance? Simply, when we say organizational performance, of course, I mean all the kind of performance that you would like to choose from, that at the end will contribute to the business growth. How does this work? So this happens through an indirect impact. So big data analytics, yes, the answer is yes, it does impact your organizational performance positively conditioned. And that happened indirectly. So it's not like a direct impact. I install big data analytics, even if you have the three dimensions, and then you expect that organizational performance will be enhanced. No, there is a mediator role, or there is an intermediate processes or something that we call organizational capabilities. These organizational capabilities is what really help your big data analytics to enhance your organizational performance. To understand this, of course, we need first to understand what is organizational capabilities and how does big data impact organizational capabilities, and then the impact goes to the organizational performance. So, organizational capabilities, in a very simple language, organizational capabilities are simply a set of knowledge, expertise, that's being generated in an organization throughout time. So all this knowledge, expertise, and that would be used to achieve a certain objective. I'll give you some examples here. So with the collective skills and expertise and knowledge, you could use it as an organization to achieve certain objective. Let me give you some examples of the organizational capabilities. Agility. And this is at the heart. Today, we all noticed how important it is to be agile and how important it is to be resilient, to be able to cope with all the change happening and the business environment. The major impact happened, of course, with the COVID-19, and we all have witnessed that. We all have seen how we all moved online during the pandemic. So most of the business that were really behind, or they lagged, or they could not, let's say, move fast, they were out. They're out of the business. Because they were lagged behind. They could not have the flexibility to move and adapt and change to the digital transformation. So agility is an organizational capability, and it's an important process that needs to be implemented within an organization to be able specifically to manage any digital transformation or adaptation of any emerging technologies like big data analytics or AI. Another example of an organizational capability is innovation. Third example, decision-making. Decision-making is a very important process that needs to be well established in any organization to be able specifically, and I'll talk about this in more detail, to be able specifically to generate benefits out of big data analytics. We also have risk management and organizational learning. So the importance of organizational capabilities is that they cannot be just copied. So you cannot just get a practice, like one of the best practices from a known organization and implement it in your organization and assume it will work. No, it doesn't work like this. When you start building organizational capabilities, they take in your culture, they take in your principles, they take in your attitude. So all that is part of the recipe. Your innovation will be different than someone else's innovation because it's always about principles. It's not about practice. That's very important. You need to understand this. Let me give you another example. Coca-Cola, for instance. Yeah. Most of us drink Coke, right? And we love it. So let's say that Coca-Cola decides to sell or to give the formula of their soft drinks to another company. And they produce another drink. Would they have that emotional connection with the drink, the customers, with that company? No, of course not. The emotional connection already been built throughout the years between the customers of Coca-Cola and themselves, and they maintained it in a way that works with them. So this is the intangible thing, the principles that I'm talking about. Now, because of the time limitation, I'll only focus on two capabilities today. I'll talk about decision-making and organizational learning. And why I chose these two? For different reasons. One of them is, at the heart of any organizational capabilities creation comes two important factors. The first one is the human. So human actor is very important. Human is very important in decision-making, and we'll talk about that. And then the other part is knowledge. Knowledge is the main building block for organizational learning. And it's very important to use these two aspects in organizational capabilities and in any emerging technologies. Now, understanding that organizational capabilities is most about principles, not about practices, we move to explaining what is decision-making. I know we make decisions daily, be it in a personal or in a business, right? Have you ever thought, have you paused and thought, how do we make a decision? Have any of you thought, how do we decide? Okay, so what is decision-making? To make it easier, decision-making is a process of choosing from a number of alternatives to reach to a desired result. That's it. I have a target or I need a certain result, so I need to choose from different options. Now, it's most important to understand that the quality of your decision will depend on many other factors. What are these factors? Yeah. So the availability of different options to choose to make a decision, I need different options, right? The available information. Do I have the information? Do I have the right information to make a decision or not? The quality of information, how accurate is my information? And then, of course, the knowledge and experience of the decision maker. Have they been through something similar before? Do they have a knowledge of what happens if certain options being taken now, for instance? And most importantly, that we all don't think about, the cognitive style of the decision maker, or simply the thinking style. I'll talk more about this. And the organizational culture. The last two are most important ones that we all tend to neglect because we're not used to consider them, or we take them for granted because they become part of the process. So let's talk about cognitive style. Cognitive style is simply the way we think, the way we perceive information, and the way we make decisions. That simply is a cognitive style or a thinking style. And it all depends on the characteristic and behavior of the individual and the decision maker. Now, there are different types of thinking style. maybe you didn't think about this, but let me give you some information here or insights into this. So, rational decision-making style. You present information or different options to the decision maker. This person is rational, logic. So logic plays a big role here. Based on logic, this person would be able to make a decision easily like this, yeah? So people who are rational, when they are presented with insights from big data, from machine, it will be easy for them to make a decision, because if it matches the logic, it works with me, right? Now, let's move to the intuitive decision-making style. This person depends more on the gut feeling. So let's say a decision maker is an intuitive decision-making style or thinker. Let's say a functional manager goes to this decision maker or to this leader with insights from a machine. And happen that the insights conflict with the intuition. Would this person be able to make a decision or not? Of course not. This person is intuitive, more depending on what? On their own gut feeling. It will be very difficult. It will be very difficult here to utilize the data or the insight that came from big data analytics. So now you can understand that why, although there are some leaders presented with information, they don't take a decision. I'm sure you've been through a different situation where you know the information been communicated, information been submitted, but the leader or the decision maker not yet able to make any decision because of this. It could be a dependent decision-making style. A dependent decision-making style is a person who cannot make a decision, that always depend on someone else to make a decision. So these are thinking style that we are brought up with, or we learned it from our environment. Avoidance decision-making style. This person would never, ever make any decision, no matter what information is presented, because this person, that's the behavior this person being brought up with to avoid. And then, of course, there's the spontaneous decision-making style that will make a decision even without the information available or not available. So that also. So this now will give you an insight why there are certain people unable to make a decision, although insights or information provided to them. Now, culture, I said, right? Remember, I said it's all about principles, not about practices. Where do we get those principles? From the culture. And since we're talking about organizational culture or corporate here, so the organizational culture, which is simply a set of assumptions, collective values, beliefs that guide the behavior of a group and the way they function over a time, as they are all work together, as they are all working to learn to successfully cope with different situations and problems. And this becomes becomes like a habit. So values, principles, belief system, the way of working, and they all agree on this, and they all live it, and they all spend most of the time doing this way. So it becomes an attitude, it becomes part of their habit, and this becomes your organizational culture. And I'm sure you all hear about the importance of organizational culture, and you all hear about the culture of the leader, him or herself. Those leaders need to understand the impact of organizational culture and how it will impact something like adopting big data analytics, which I'm going to explain further. So organizational culture, as we said, one of the main factors that affect decision-making, because plus all the other factors and your cognitive style, if your organizational culture is a culture that supports decisions, if your organizational culture a culture that take risk, allow you to take risk and tolerate consequences, then that is an organization where you really can depend on the insights that comes from the machine or big data. If not, then maybe you need to stop and consider this as the main issues within your organization. So we said we'll talk about decision-making and two main components that I already talked about, cognitive style and organizational culture. Now let's keep that aside, we'll come back to it and talk about another organizational capability, which is organizational learning. So what is organizational learning? It's simply, as we all know, acquiring and converting information into knowledge to the advantage of the organization. data. We're talking about big data here, right? We're talking about information, insight, which is knowledge. Now, knowledge is considered as an important intangible asset. That's a great redefinition that took place with the emerging digital technologies, with AI and big data analytics. You need to understand this, that it's time that you need to define data or knowledge as an intangible asset. They call it the digital oil. That's what they call it now. So it's a prime source of competitiveness in the digital economy, data. And we'll see how is that really going to affect the business growth or to enhance your organizational performance. But this is a mindset shift. That's very important that we all start adopting this change and let's say reshuffle or redefine what we define knowledge as. So knowledge is now defined as an important intangible asset and a prime source for competitiveness. Let's see how. Now, organizational learning need to be implemented in different levels in the organization in order to be able to claim or in order to be able to say that we have a mature organizational learning. The first level is the individuals, the employees themselves. They need to be, so you know that all the tacit knowledge is with the employees themselves. They need to, there got to be a way to capture this kind of knowledge. We need to encourage our employees to learn. We need to encourage our employees to share knowledge with each other. We need to provide mechanism for the employees to access knowledge. How easy in an organization for that individual or employee to access piece of information, for instance. And then the other level is the teams. We all know that there are operational managers and there are teams at the operational level who take a collective decision or who work together in order to achieve certain tasks. So what about knowledge transfer between those team members? And do we support this? Do we have a culture for teams? Do we have a culture that supports decision-making on operational level based on the knowledge available with the teams at that level? That's also important to look into and to make sure that it's implemented at that level. And then the third level that I want to emphasize when it comes to organizational learning is all the enables that the organization could build or establish in order to support knowledge transfer. Do we have a proper IT tool, for instance, to capture our knowledge? Do we have a tool that captures lessons learned? Do we have an easy access? Do we provide our employees with access to certain tools to get certain knowledge? Shouldn't be a knowledge management, should be different MIS tools, for instance. Do we have a strategy? Do you have really strategy for knowledge management? Specifically now, you know that knowledge management is the prime source of competitiveness. Do you coach your employees? Do leaders themselves become role model and they start coaching their employees in certain aspects? Do you grant funds? Do you allocate, let's say, budget for training and knowledge management or not? That all comes in the organization. And when you have the three levels working together, again, in a synergic way, with very harmony, that when you can claim that you have a mature organizational learning capability. Now, let's go back to organizational capabilities, right? So I said that big data analytics can enhance performance through other organizational capabilities. But then how? This happens through something we call resource orchestration. So resource orchestration is simply, now you have big data, you have organizational learning, you have decision making, you have IT systems, infrastructure. Here comes the role of the manager or the leader. I said organizational capability. At the heart of the organizational capability, there is a human actor, right? So that's mostly the role of the manager. Myself as a leader, do I understand now what change I need to do in my organization in order to be able to get the benefit of big data analytics or AI, for instance? Do I understand that? We need to reshuffle that. We all know. But how we do it through what is called resource orchestration. It's simply like a weaving process. So you need to understand to move what where. You need to understand what a new resource I should acquire, what a new capability I need to build or renew. That's very important. And that's what we call in the science of organizational capability, a resource orchestration. So let's go back now to our main question. How does big data analytics enhance organizational performance through other organizational capabilities? I chose decision-making and organizational learning again. So what happens? We said the impact happens indirectly. So big data analytics, well, not enhanced directly. Big data analytic will first impact your decision-making. And how does that happen? You get insights from big data. So remember the main factors of decision-making. We said the availability of information. So big data gives you information. We said the quality of information. Big data, assuming it's very well established, it will give you an accurate and good data. And if you really have it very well built, it will be free of any biases. And then the other factor is the expertise of the decision-making. So there are many aspects and the decision-making that being contributed now by big data analytics. So definitely we can say that big data analytics enhances the decision-making. So that's how does big data impact your organization. So number one, it enhances your decision-making. Number two, let's go to organizational learning. Now, we said, again, organizational learning, you need knowledge, you need information to be converted into knowledge. So big data analytics, again, gives you insights, gives you information, and that's all what you need for enhancing your organizational learning, or actually for practicing your organizational learning. So comes big data analytics, and I will emphasize here on the 3 levels. So your employees, maybe at the operational level, would need to have access to certain information, maybe from big data analytics. Mostly that would be on the managerial level or leadership level, where the information will be provided and to support the decision-making and knowledge transfer. And accordingly, this will impact your business growth or organizational performance. So let's take a case. Let's say that big data analytics provided you with insight. It went to the decision makers. They didn't take any decision for whatever reason. Definitely organizational performance will not be enhanced here, because organizational performance depends on the actions, decisions that you need to make in order for change to happen, in order for a new service to be offered, in order for a new employee to be hired, or new skills to be acquired. If you don't do all that, then definitely your performance will be impacted. Similarly happens with the organizational learning. If the knowledge comes from big data analytics and it stops within one employee, it doesn't move forward. It doesn't get registered, for instance, in your system, knowledge management. A lesson is not shared. A manager or a leader does not take or put efforts to share certain knowledge. Of course, this will impact the organizational performance. And accordingly, you can think of all other organizational capabilities that could be impacted by big data analytics. Of course, due to the, again, time limits, I cannot cover most of them, but these are the, when it's come to decision-making and organizational learning, these are the 2 more, I would say most. These are the 2 most impacted organizational capabilities, and these are the most important organizational capabilities that will help. So it goes both ways. So big data analytics help to develop these organizational capabilities. And then, as you can see, these organizational capabilities help big data to generate business benefit. There is one important organizational capability that I would like to emphasize here: agility. Without having agility, you cannot build this model that I'm just talking about. You can't. So let's say that you decided to acquire big data analytics. Done. Your IT or CIO did the job, server installed, infrastructure built, data is there. But it took you 2 years, 3 years to do this. To build all this together. And then you found, let's say suddenly you found out your decision-making process is not yet mature. What do? You take another year to build that. You need to be agile and you need to be fast to tackle issues like this. If you're not, believe me, today we're living in a very, very fast-paced, I would say, in business environment. You have to make a decision immediately. And that's why we keep saying that big data analytics will help you, because to make a decision immediately, which means you need to really have a good information available for you. So agility is very important. When you consider adopting any emerging technology, by the way, be it big data analytics, AI, blockchain, IoTs, you need to be agile in order to do what we call resource orchestration, or to this is in a business language is simply called change your business model. So you need to change your business model to adapt to this change. And that's what we mean by resources orchestration. Now, as you can see, it's very easy to say this. It's very easy for me or any other speaker to come and tell you this is the model that you should use and this is how it works. However, in reality, we still have a lot of challenges. It's really nice. It's very easy, like as I explained it. But how easy it is to really implement this and work. There are many challenges that we are facing today, and we need to understand them to be able to overcome them. So the first challenge I want to highlight is the financial investment. You have seen now, to build a proper big data analytics, you need 3 dimensions, not 1. The third dimension is the most challenging one because it's intangible. It touches your culture, it touches your organizational capabilities and others. So financial investment is very important challenge. And this, of course, how to overcome this, you would need to build proper strategic plan. You need to ask for support, maybe, depends on your type of organization. Number 2, culture. And I have talked a lot about culture, and you have seen how culture plays an important role, a hidden role actually, that we wouldn't notice or wouldn't bear attention to this kind of intangible resource that is affecting everything. I said, just to repeat, it's about principles, not practices. And principles comes at the heart of culture. Talent. There is a huge gap in the market when it comes to big data analytics or data scientists. They're really looking, and they pay very well, very good for this. If you're thinking to consider a career in this, then I would really encourage you. And of course, this also goes to other expertise, be it in the managerial or the technical level. There are huge demand in the market now, and even in the there are many action being taken. There are a lot of programs being offered by different institutes to teach people, to prepare them to be data scientists, to prepare them to know how to deal with certain analytics tools. A lot of statistical, analytical, even regression methods have been proposed and have been, you need expertise to understand that, because when you generate insights, when you generate the analytics from big data, the data scientists will build certain correlations, certain trends for you, but then data scientists may not understand unless he's has a knowledge about the business area. Your functional manager need to sit, or your experts need to sit with the data scientists to make a sense of let's say that data scientists will create a regression model, will come back to you, will tell you 1, 2, 3 based on my statistical analysis. This is not a business language, of course. So functional manager will take that and then will understand certain behavior within the business area. And that when the functional manager generate the insight and take it back to the executive level. So that it's very important for you also to understand that you need your team to work together. Data science by himself or herself not going to help you. Policies. Big data. Talking about data. We're talking about privacy. We're talking about personal information. We're talking about confidential. There might be some confidential information. It's very important that within the organization or even at the country's level, you define a governance or regulatory framework that govern the creation, the capturing, creation, all the different processes of big data. Where do you capture your data from? How do you store it? What kind of information you could use? What kind of information you can present? Now, on a country level, many countries has taken actions towards setting law for this. For instance, in UK in 2018, they issued something called Data Protection Act 2018, and that's for the information or data protection. In UAE, for instance, where I come from, they issued in 2021 something called UAE Protection of Personal Data. And there are many other examples. I'm sure you can Google them and you can find information about them. But this is an important step. So this simply tells you how we protect data and who's allowed to use our data and so on. Now, moving forward, main, I would say, and an important challenge is the maturity of organizational capability. And I think you have seen how that impact the implementation or deployment of your big data analytics. If you really don't have mature organizational capabilities, then forget that your big data analytics will be able to enhance your performance or will help you to generate any benefits. These are some of the challenges. Of course, there are many other challenges, but these are the main ones that's already been highlighted. And knowing these challenges will help to be able to do resource orchestration, will help to be able to understand how we could acquire and build the capability on top of our big data to create what we call big data analytics. Understanding this is the first step. Number two, you would want to take this and put it into an action or a plan toward achieving. So this should be part of your SWOT or part of your strategy management in order to, or your digital management actually, in order for you to be able to get the benefits. Now, let me ask you this question. After all what I have mentioned, what would be your organization approach toward generating the benefits of big data analytics? Considering all what I have said, I want you to take a moment now, please. Take a moment and think about this question. What would be the approach, your organization approach toward generating the benefits of big data analytics? And with that, I want to thank you and leave you with this question. I want you really to think about it and take necessary action that will help you to achieve the benefits of big data analytics. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed being here and sharing this kind of information. As I said, I'm very passionate, and I would really love you to understand that this is how we do it. This is in practical, or this is in reality, what we need to consider, what we need to have in order to be able to move forward with the implementation of big data analytics. These are my contact details. Feel free if you have any question, would like to continue communicating with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Laila, for sharing your thoughts, your excellent expertise, and your views around how to create this organizational performance through data. I thought it was a very interesting session. I saw that a lot of people thought so as well, and there were some questions coming in. We still have a few minutes, so if it's okay with you, I would like to moderate a few questions. The first question, I'm going to put it on the screen right now, is from Jamie. Jamie is asking, can you also briefly explain how risk management related to organizational capabilities too? So I think specifically around risk management.
Yeah. So risk management is an organizational capability. So it's a capability that you need to build within your organization to be able to cope with risk. Let me give you an example. Let's say that one of your manager decided to take a decision based on the insight that came from the big data analytics, and then it turned to be wrong, right? So there are consequences that you as an organization need to tolerate. Do you have a proper risk management process implemented within your organization to be able with cope? Let's say this risk related to customers, for instance. So you made you enhance a service based on insight on big data, and it turned to be not the right thing to do. You got complaints from your customers. So this is a risk now, right? It became an issue actually. So do you have a mitigation method now that you could use to resolve this issue? So that's what I mean when I say risk management as an organizational capability. It becomes a capability. So if you don't have it, then you created an issue and you don't know how to deal with it, and this will impact your performance and your customers. If you have a proper method or a proper capability already or process installed, then it will be easy for you to mitigate the risk and overcome that issue.
Good. I think that's an excellent approach around looking specifically around it as a capability as well. And I think most organizations look at it more as a process or a specific function instead of really considering it a capability.
True. And specifically now, we're talking about emerging technologies. As I said, we need to redefine a lot of processes and capabilities around the technology aspect.
Good. Good. I see questions keep coming in, so we still have some time. So second question is coming, still the same question or a different question also from Jamie. Speaking about agility, how can we ensure that agility in decision making and organizational learning? That's a difficult one.
Yeah. So again, agility is a capability, another capability or a process that you need to have it within your organization. But then agility is linked to culture. So organizational culture plays a role here, linked to decision making, how fast leaders can make decisions within this organization. And when it comes, so there are different factors. You need to understand the different factors affecting agility in order to be able to build the right capability for agility. So as I said, time is a big factor here. The decision making and knowledge. So if the manager or employee really have the right knowledge, can make the decision and can action. So execution becomes important here.
Very, very good. Then final question for today is from John Weezy. What is the UAE's experience on the public sector success of big data? Do you have any examples you are able to share with us? That's an interesting one.
Yeah, do you know, my PhD is based on that actually, so I have a lot of examples to share with you. So UAE already, what UAE did is on a federal level, they established a clear strategy toward AI, toward big data, and toward the digital transformation. So we have a full-fledged digital transformation roadmap or strategy. And accordingly, they dedicated or they established organizations. So we have on a federal level an organization dedicated to monitor the digital transformation on the country level, with different, I would say, performance measurements that goes into different organizations. And then on the local level as well, within the different emirates, because UAE has 7 emirates, or let's say states, there is one central body in terms of the local, also they are managing or monitoring the digital transformation within that state. So that's one thing. The other thing, as I said already, in 2021, there is a law that issued for big data protection in the United Arab Emirates, and that applies on all. And there are many other examples. We have a ministry called AI Ministry, by the way.
Yeah.
This AI ministry is in charge of all this, so you can imagine. Not only the AI.
I read somewhere that it's one of the first countries that really has an AI ministry.
Yes.
So I think that's very, very progressive.
Yeah. And one of the main, one of the main mandates of this AI ministry is education, awareness, to educate people about this. Because when we talk about impact of digital technologies, it's not anymore impacting business. It's impacting individuals, societies, economy. So raising awareness is very important. We also have a lot being done toward the digital economy. So we have the Ministry of Economy. Also, they have dedicated sector dedicated to something what we call today digital economy, and a lot of digital services, of course. Hopefully, this answered the question.
Well, I think it definitely did, and I'd like to build on your point around education, because I think that is ultimately what this is all about. We've seen it already quite a lot throughout this session. Is that big data, AI, it's going to fundamentally change the way we think, the way we operate. It already is. And it starts with understanding and learning about it and knowing what's what and how things are being created. And I think if you do that, and the people who are on this conference obviously want to expand their knowledge, otherwise they wouldn't be here. But that's really the first step, in my opinion.
Yes.
Laila, on that note, I would like to thank you for your excellent presentation and all the good work that you're doing. I know you're in the final stages of your PhD, so good luck with the last steps in doing that. I'm quite sure we're going to see each other again very, very soon. So thank you so much for being part of Big Data Days 2023.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
Excellent. Good. For those of you who are waiting for the next session, let me put it on the screen. So in our next session, we're gonna have slightly different format. So instead of 2 parallel sessions, we're gonna have a panel discussion. And in our upcoming panel discussion, I have the great pleasure to talk with 3 industry experts around the way that AI is going to be shaping digital transformation in organizations. It's going to be my great pleasure to, after 15 minutes from now, introduce Faisal, Kieran, and Vincent, and we're going to discuss how AI is changing the way that we live. Look forward to seeing all of you back in 15 minutes from now. Thanks, everyone.